How's everyone doing today? It's your boy JJ Domination, and today we are here with a follow-up on the Antonio Brown versus the Oakland Raiders scenario that has been playing out over the last couple of days. Now, the last time that I talked about the story, it was in the beginning phases. You know, we were talking about Antonio Brown getting into an altercation with his GM, Mike Mayock, and how, like, you know, it was pretty, like, disrespectful and whatnot, and how, in my perspective, Antonio Brown shouldn't be picking fights with the dudes who signed his checks. And it looks like I was right, because a lot of shit has happened since then, and I'm going to go ahead and break it down for you guys. And I think Ian Rappaport right here basically sums everything up pretty well. So after I read this tweet to you guys, I'm basically going to break down exactly how everything came about. So this is what Ian Rappaport had to tweet. In all, Antonio Brown screamed at Mike Mayock, punted a ball, and yelled, "Find me for that." And they did. More than $215,000. Plus, voiding all of his guarantees of $30 million. AB asked for his release, knowing he's entitled to $0, and the team hasn't responded 2 days until game day. Absolutely, man. I mean, this shit has spiraled out of control. So there's a lot more context that goes into that tweet. So basically, the day that we found out about the altercation, we talked about the contract scenario and that this team could void his contract to where he would be making $0, man. Or not making $0, but his money wouldn't necessarily be guaranteed. And here we have it today, Saturday morning. His money is not guaranteed. And there's a lot that goes into it, and I'm going to try my best to explain it. It's a lot. So I may skip over some details. That's probably because it really isn't as important because we've covered it. But Antonio Brown yesterday went to YouTube, and it was posted on Instagram as well, that, you know, he made a clip of a phone call that him and John Gruden had, and it was basically talking about how John Gruden just wants Antonio Brown to come out there and play football and not worry about all this other stuff. And Antonio's kind of basically talking about how he's being misunderstood by the media and management and all that. And John Gruden's just like, yeah, I understand. I've tried my best to really kind of feel you and to kind of understand you, but I need you out there against Denver. I want you to be out there. I love you as a player. That's why I went out and got you. So it was basically like a heart-to-heart conversation, but mainly the heart-to-heart was really just coming from John Gruden. Antonio Brown was basically responding out of anger. You could definitely tell he was responding out of anger. It doesn't really take a psychologist to figure that one out. And then the video gets uploaded to YouTube, right? And John Gruden thought that it was awesome, and to his defense, it kind of was, because it felt like a hype video for the season. However, it's not really a good look. You know how old guys are in the media and stuff. You know, like, that's a bad look. You know, you don't want your star diva wide receiver, blah blah blah. You know, like, yes, you shouldn't be doing that, but I get it, man. Social media is very popularized, and I'm not necessarily saying Antonio's right for doing any of this stuff, because it shouldn't have gotten to this point, man. Like, it's one thing to throw shade at Big Ben Roethlisberger and Juju, but man, don't come for your GM, man. Like, come on. And they got into like a huge shouting match, and he got fined $215,000. That's where that $215,000 comes from, because remember, initially he got a different type of fine for not showing up to practice. And Antonio Brown in the clip talked about how, you know, he works his ass off at practice. Nobody practices like me. You know, I go hard at practice. And John Gruden was basically saying, yeah, you're right, but we kind of need you here, you know, to kind of validate that point, I guess. I don't know, but he got fined that $215K. And then when everybody's waking up this morning, Antonio Brown posts on Instagram a little message saying, like, you know, that's fine. And then he kind of talks for a little bit, and then at the end it just says, "Release me." That is telling. I mean, his contract is being voided. He gets a bigger fine than what he got initially, and now he's just like, all right, I'm done. Release me. And this has escalated, man. I mean, it started out where I want to say it was Wednesday, the altercation goes down. Thursday, like the media saying that, oh, like he's not going to play. And then Friday, it's like, yeah, he's going to play. And then Friday night, he makes a video talking about his phone call with him and John Gruden. And then he receives another fine. His contract gets voided. And then this morning, he's like, release me. Now, as of this point, he has not been granted his release, but this is just very bizarre. I'm going to be honest, man. I've been watching football for a long time, and I know when people say, oh, I've never heard of a situation like this, typically there is one out there. I have not heard any type of shit like this. I know T.O. Was a little bit of a nutcase. That's kind of what his reputation was. That's why he didn't get into the Hall of Fame immediately, because let's face it, he's one of the best receivers to ever play. But with Antonio Brown, this shit is on another level, especially with social media being as big as it is in 2019 compared to all the shit that went down with T.O. in like the early 2000s and mid 2000s. Like, come on. Social media wasn't shit back then. If T.O. was in 2019, I'm pretty sure he would be a fucking nutcase. And that's just me saying it nicely. But will Antonio Brown be granted his release? That is a question we don't have any answers to at the moment. Maybe when this video goes up, he does get released, for all we know. Maybe he doesn't. We'll have to see, man, but this situation has gotten ugly, and I feel bad for everyone involved. I know the players rallied around Antonio Brown, and they really just want him to be on the field as well, because they feel like they can win ball games with him out there, and I respect that. Like the players rallying around him. It's kind of a bad look for Mike Mayock, because he's been the guy that's been pretty harsh during this entire thing. Rightfully so, because honestly, Antonio Brown has been kind of crazy, and you do need somebody to hold him in check. However, it's not really working too well, because AB is doing what he does. So all I can say is, Antonio Brown, come on, dude. Now you're just digging your own grave when it comes to your reputation and your placement in the organization. Props to John Gruden for at least trying to be understanding of Antonio Brown the person, because Antonio Brown did reference a few times in his clip that, I'm more than just a football player, and I get that. I understand. Because a lot of people just look at these dudes in their uniforms and they're just like, oh, just shut your ass up and get out there. Oh, shut up and play. I don't know how many times I've heard that in my life about a player. And I get it from that perspective, but that doesn't give you the right to just be a total ass. You know what I'm saying? You're sabotaging your organization. You're sabotaging your teammates, because they don't even know if you're going to play or not. At this point, and it's probably a no. You're probably not going to play. But even if you did, I still had Denver winning this game anyway, so it doesn't matter. But damn, man, I kind of feel some of the things Antonio Brown is trying to say, but it's like he's making a whole act out of it, man, and it's really just created a lot of distractions and whatnot. It's just not a good look for anybody involved. I get Gruden for trying to be the supportive head coach, because back in the day, he would have probably just been like, get out of here. Remember, he had a receiver that was kind of, I don't want to say dramatic, but he had a phase where, he was kind of an asshole as well, Keyshawn Johnson, and he cut him like mid-season. He didn't care back then, but it's a new NFL. John Gruden slowly is figuring that out. And for Mike Mayock, I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to be the guy that keeps everybody in check. But that's supposed to be the head coach's job. And if coach is trying to be more understanding, then you need to focus on your role as a GM. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get you're trying to be the good cop, bad cop scenario here. Like, I get that, and rightfully so. Like, shout out to Mike Mayock for taking on that responsibility. But it's really not your responsibility. If John Gruden can't hold him in check, that I don't know really what to say. That's not your job. Don't worry about it, Mike Mayock, but I respect you for, taking it under advisement, I guess you could say. And Al Davis, I don't know where he's been in all this, but Something's got to give. I don't know what's going to happen with AB, but something's got to give, man. Will he actually be granted his release? Who knows? If he is granted his release, who's going to pick him up? You would think, you know, maybe the New England Patriots, since they take chances all the time. But hell, will the New England Patriots want to put up with that shit? I don't know, man. I really don't know, but let me know down in the comment section below, what do you think is going to happen next in the Antonio Brown saga? And what the hell is going to happen with Oakland this year? Let me know down in the comment section below, and peace out.